Hi Annie, hi Lily. Today we're going to learn about worms and mollusks. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna make my face bigger for a moment. Okay, so for the vocabulary today we have the word fluke, latija. It's a type of flat worm. Then we have the word gills. Remember that's the part of the fish body that takes in oxygen from the water. Host, anfitrión, it's an animal that has another animal living on or in it. Okay, then mollusk, mollusco, animals with soft bodies, and mostly the adults grow hard shells. For example, a snail, it's a mollusk. And then an octopus, pulpo, a mollusk with a soft body and 8 long arms. A parasite, it's an animal that lives on or in another animal. It gets its food from the host. For example, here, the parasite would be the flea, and the host would be the cat. And I'm going to explain more in the lesson, okay? And then squid, calamar, a mollusk that lives in the sea. Okay, so for worms. Worms are animals that have soft, slender, delgaditos bodies and no backbones or legs. There are thousands of different kinds of worms. Some are so small that you need a microscope to see them, and some are so large that they are several feet long. Worms have no outside covers or bones to give them protection, so they need special protection where they live, okay? They need to live in a really safe place. They usually live underground, in water, or inside other animals. The larvae of some insects sometimes looks like worms, but they are not really worms. So worms and larvae are not the same because larvae will change into adult insects sometime during their life cycle, but adult insects no longer look like worms. Instead, worms are always worms. They stay like worms all of their lives. Adult worms can reproduce. Insect larvae can't reproduce, okay? And then for worms, the most commonly known is the earthworm, gusano de tierra. But then you have flukes, flatworms, roundworms, tapeworms, and leeches are as types of worms. And they have similar types of life cycles. Some life cycles of worms, sorry, there's an A here, sorry, you have that in your PowerPoint, fix it please. Some types of worms have a life cycle that can't be completed unless the worm is located in the right place, okay? The need for the right place to live is especially important for worms who live in other animals. So worms are parasites, parásitos. So as I said, those worms are known as parasite, and the animal where the parasite lives is called the host. And I'm gonna explain more in a minute, okay? So the life cycle of the worm, it's simple. In the beginning, it's an egg that was fertilized by sperm. You need a male worm and a female worm, and sometimes you can have a worm that is both female and male, but they still need to mate. Igual necesitan aparearse. Okay, what else? Okay, so the worm's male part releases sperm, and the other worm's, the female one, receives that sperm, and then after the eggs are fertilized, the eggs are released. Okay, and then you have the growth stage. So worms pretty much look like their parents. Some worms are hatched as larvae, and they don't look much like their parents, but then they have to really quickly find a host or they're going to die. Okay, and now speaking of parasites, an example of a parasite, it's a worm cycle that happens in the house cat, okay? So cats, like common cats, can have parasites, and a type of parasite called a tapeworm, okay? So the cat doesn't get the worms by eating them. What happens is that the host for the tapeworm larva are usually fleas. So you have a flea, una pulga, and the flea has tapeworm larvae, okay? When the cat has fleas and it cleans itself, it licks himself, it swallows those fleas, okay? And then the fleas that are in the tapeworm larvae change into tiny tapeworms inside the cat, and they live in the intestines of the cat. And then that tapeworm produces eggs and fertilizes them with sperm, and all of that happens inside the poor cat's body, and the fertilized eggs are carried out of the cat's body as waste. So the cat poops the tapeworms, but they live some time in his intestine, okay? How do the fleas? Okay. Okay. Hi, girls. Sorry for that little break. Alana needed something. Okay, so I was explaining that the cat poops out the parasites, and how did the flea get those tapeworm larvae? Because they eat animal waste, okay? And I'm going to explain really quickly in Spanish if you got lost. Lo que pasa es que tienes una pulga, la pulga come desperdicios de animales y se llena de los parásitos. Luego el gato tiene pulgas y tiene la pulga que ya tiene parásitos, y cuando se lame para limpiarse se traga la pulga con sus parásitos y los parásitos van a sus intestinos. Viven ahí y luego cuando el gato hace popó, bota los parásitos y otra vez se vuelve el ciclo, y así es como vive el tapeworm. Normalmente un parásito se aprovecha de un anfitrión o host y le come gracias a ellos, ¿no? Y normalmente al host no le va tan bien, ¿ok? Okay, so then we're gonna talk about mollusks. Mollusks are soft bodies invertebrates animals that don't have a backbone, okay? So most species of mollusks grow hard shells to protect themselves. Examples are snails, clams, oysters, okay? And then you have mollusks that don't have hard outer shells, like squid or octopus. Okay, they live in most part of the world, mostly in water or the forest or even the desert. But they must keep their bodies moist to remain alive, so they have to be wet. And mollusks are the largest group of water animal. There are about 50,000 kinds of living mollusks, and they discover about 1,000 new kinds every year. So we still need to learn about a lot about mollusks. And some of the mollusks that live in water, they have to have gills. Okay, remember that's slit on their neck or somewhere in their body that helps them breathe oxygen out of the water. Okay, so they're inside water, but they take oxygen from the water, and they move by means of a foot, like what happens with a snail, for example. Okay, most mollusks have similar life cycles. At the beginning, it starts with an egg that is fertilized by the male's sperm. In some mollusks, fertilization happens inside the female's body. Others lay eggs first, and then the eggs are fertilized by the sperm outside of the female body. Mollusk eggs are in small cases when they are laid. Most eggs hatch into larvae while they are still inside the cases, okay? And then there are two types of larvae. Some type of larvae come out of the cases and find a plant or animal host, and then other mollusk larvae stay in the cases and come out as young adults. So adults, but smaller size. And then shells are sometimes grown by mollusk larvae, but mollusks grow their main shells during their adult stage. So usually when they're not adults, they don't have a shell yet. Okay, so that would be the explanation for today.